Many years ago, I read a book on a history of assassins. And one of the lines that really stuck with me was he talked about political assassins who work for the KGB or the CIA have been notoriously unreliable. And so he gave some examples of how the assassins really aren't killing machines, but they're quite often really messed up people, as you would expect for people who kill for political reasons like that. And what he came to was that if you're going to kill somebody for political reasons, you're probably going to be a fanatic and or a sociopath. And fanatics are generally not known for their emotional stability. And this is true whether they are a political fanatic who is willing to kill for the Soviet Union, a political fanatic who is willing to kill for the United States, a political fanatic who is willing to kill for Islam, Catholicism, whatever. If you feel so strongly that you're willing to kill people for it, you're probably a fanatic. And then he talks about like sports fanatics, a sort of fanatic. I'm not just somebody who's a fan. Yeah, I'll go watch the baseball game if there's nothing else going on. But instead, the sort of person who, you know, bleeds Dodger blue or something, chances are good you know, you got a little something going on. And and that really struck me because I so many activists over the years have talked about having been driven out of activism by the people who were so abrasive and so frankly messed up. And I don't want to blame activists for this in general because we see the same sort of petty fighting at universities. We see the same sort of petty fighting probably at fast food restaurants. And nonetheless, I just think it's really fascinating how, you know, Joseph Campbell wrote this really interesting bit about how for those in whom those in whom a local mythology works, there exists a sense of meaning and of accord with the universe. And so, for example, if you really believe in Catholicism, if that set of symbols works for you, then you have meaning set out for you in your life, a path of meaning that's a couple thousand years old. And if capitalism, if those sets and symbols really work for you and bring meaning to your life, then you have a set of meaning, a set of symbols that was a couple hundred years old that works for you. And if, on the other hand, those symbols don't work for you, those paths don't work for you, you have to go on what Joseph Campbell called the hero journey. You have to find meaning for yourself in the universe. If the local mythology, again, and it doesn't matter what the local mythology is, the local mythology could be the Tolowa mythology here. For them, there was a path of meaning that was 12,000 years old of that land-based religion here. But if the mythology doesn't work for you, then you have to set out to find it. And that process can be very painful and dangerous and scary. And that helped me understand why so many activists, artists, revolutionaries can be so difficult to work with sometimes because they've been spun out. You know, you're not going to be a revolutionary if the system works for you. I mean, there's that's by definition. And if you're out there trying to find your own meaning, that can be an incredibly difficult process. And so it's no wonder that oftentimes, especially younger ones, and I include myself in this, in my 20s and 30s, I was pretty prickly. And, you know, if you've been spun out, it takes time to metabolize that process and to come to peace with and in yourself, and to then still maintain that artistic or revolutionary fervor, but to not be spewing it onto everybody around you, but to figure out how to aim it. And I know it's a big jump to go from assassins being notoriously unreliable, but the key here, the thread that runs through it, is fanatics being notoriously emotionally unreliable. And certainly anybody who wants to bring down civilization, I mean, you've got to be fairly fanatical in this case, what I would describe as my devotion to the natural world. That still is an extreme position in this culture. And so one has to grow one's way into those positions. I don't know what, I guess here's the take home message from this is, and I know I'm jumping yet again, but so many young people, like in college, have said to me, what should I do with my life? And I always tell them, you need to spend your 20s getting grounded. You need to spend your 20s getting centered, so for the rest of your life, you can know what to do. So your job from 15 to 30 is to ruthlessly try to figure out who you are and what you're going to do with the too few years you've been given. And that is, I'm basically saying in much less erudite terms, what Joseph Campbell was saying about, if the sets and symbols aren't working for you, you need to go on your hero's journey. And once you've gone on that, or heroine's journey, and once you've gone on that journey, and then when you come back at 30, 35, you can have, as with the hero or heroine, you can have gifts. That's the whole point of the hero's journey, is you go out and you fight the demons, which is what we're talking about with the fanaticism or with the horrors in society. You fight those demons, fight the dragons, and then you come back with a gift for the community. And this is just another way of saying the same thing Judith Herman, who wrote Trauma and Recovery, said, that the survivors of trauma who do the best are generally those who've recognized you will never be the same. You have been forever changed by that trauma, but you can't. But then they recognize, yes, I am changed. I have scars, but I'm okay. And they come back with what she and Robert J. Lifton called a survivor mission, which is, I want to take the trauma that was inflicted upon me and turn it into a gift for the larger community. And so I always say to young people, your job is to spend the next 15 years absolutely positively devoting yourself to working through the trauma of having been brought up in this culture and figuring out what you can do to serve life, and also what you can do to not be kind of a jerk to everybody around you. And then once you've metabolized it, then you get on with the best part of your life.